Hi everyone, how brilliant was our new intro video, and a big thank you to Maria in the ThingLink team that put that together for us. So if you're just joining us, welcome. We're delighted that you are here. We've got people from Scotland, we've got people from Finland, we've got people from Puerto Rico, lots of people joining us to find out what the University of Salford, the Learning and Technology Enhancement team, are doing in their university to promote immersive learning and engagement with their students. So in a moment, I'm going to be introducing our guests. As usual, we'll be sending you an email after the webinar, and it will contain all the slides, all the links, lots of inspiration, and I'm sure you are going to be as thrilled as I am when I saw some of the examples that the team are going to be sharing. Hello from Northumbria, Nottingham, Northumbria University as well. Great to see you all. And this week we are joined again by our wonderful manager of all the support services here at ThingLink. He's a valued member of our team, and I know that you provide support to all the people that are watching and beyond across ThingLink, our 10 million creators that always ping you and ask you for ideas. So welcome, Eyam. How are you?
I am great. I'm also not the only person in the support team, even if it might seem like that sometimes. We are expanding, and Louise has already mentioned Maria, who I'm sure you will see on our webinars one day.
Yeah,
it's nice to see you and nice to be with you here.
Oh, it's great that you're here, and big thanks to Maria again for creating that introduction video. So if you do have any questions at all, these might be about your ThingLink account type or any of the functionality. If you put them into the chat, Eyam is going to answer as ThingLink in the chat, so you know exactly who it is. And if you've got any questions for anybody else here on the webinar, put them in the chat, because we really want to make sure that we answer your questions as they go. We love hearing where you're from, so please do say hello in the chat, where you're from, and any other comments, we'll make sure we put those on the screen as well. So hello to someone from Estonia just joining us. So thank you, Eyam. We'll bring you back at the end of the webinar, and you'll be able to give us any other moments of wisdom or any other ideas. Thanks ever so much. And there's someone joining us from Argentina, Carolina. Great stuff. So as I've mentioned, we've got the team joining us from the University of Salford. And I'm particularly pleased that they've been able to talk about all the work they're doing in higher education, because I had the chance to actually join them earlier this year and meet them in person. So to bring them back for a webinar is a real treat. So a big hello to Beth. Hi, Beth. How are you?
Hello, good, thanks. I'm excited.
And Mo as well. Mo, how are you?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Louise. I'm great, thanks, and really happy to be here. So thank you for having us.
Oh, you're more than welcome. So you are both learning technologists who are based at the University of Salford. I'm just going to remove my screen there. But Beth, tell us a bit more about your journey to become a learning technologist and your role here at the university.
Yeah, so my background is probably a little bit different from a normal learning technologist, because I actually started off as a teacher. So I've been a teacher for around 15 years now, and I predominantly taught in further education, and I did a little stint in primary school as well. And now I've got into a space of training teachers, which I really enjoy, because I see that as my subject specialism now. So I came into the University of Salford, applied for the job as a learning teaching enhancement centre area as a learning technologist, because I'm really into education technology. So when I was a teacher, that's what I was really enjoyed using. I really think it's a way to help teachers to reduce their workload and just support them in general to enjoy and also engage students a lot. So yeah.
Highly valued member of the team, and both you and Mo are ThingLink certified trainers as well. So you're very much part of our community, helping us to shape ThingLink as a tool as well, which is really appreciated. And Mo, for short, Manisha, welcome to our webinar. You're a learning technologist as well and part of the team, but tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, of course. Yes, I've had a bit of a different route from Beth and other learning technologists as well. So I've been at the University of Salford for the last 12 years. For 10 of those years, I was actually a scientist. So I worked as a biomedical scientist and I was a lab technician in the NHS and then in higher education. And it wasn't really until the pandemic hit where a lot of our teaching at Salford all got shifted online, and that included our practical classes in the labs. And that's when I had an active interest. I've always had an interest in educational technology, but that's where it reached its peak, helping guide all of our academics move all of their learning resources online. And then that sparked my interest in becoming a learning technologist. And now I've been in the LTEC team for the last 2 years.
Amazing. You've seen such a shift in 2 years and beyond. Things have really made a difference for the better, I feel. And I'm going to put the link to the learning technology team, if I can ask Eyam to do that. So if anybody wants to contact you or the team directly, there's a form which is in the LTEC website, so they can get in touch with you and find out more about the work of the team. And I can see some other members of the community joining as well. We've got Matt from Cumbria, always innovative, and we've also got Simon joining us from Scotland as well. So delighted to see you all here. So before we take a look at some of the work that you've been doing in Salford, I think it's a really nice opportunity to show you all some of the improvements we're seeing in ThingLink, and I'll come back to this at the end. But yeah, ThingLink's had a bit of its own glow up over the last few weeks. So it is starting to look a little bit different. And I know that many of you who are joining us here this evening or this morning, depending on where you are, know and love ThingLink already. But some of you who don't know ThingLink are joining us here as well. So a big welcome to you as well. So ThingLink as a tool, can you believe it, is now 14 years old? When I tell people that, they're like, no, but of course, many of you have used it since those early days. And ThingLink was the genius idea of Ulla Maria Koivula, who's based in Finland. She was actually studying in the University of Helsinki for her PhD in education at that time, and she came up with the idea of being able to make anything and everything an interface for learning. And that is, you know, if ThingLink was a stick of rock and you chopped it in half, you'd see that through the core of it, because it is about making anything an interface for learning and connecting both digital worlds, things that we can create nowadays with 360 media and AI. We can make digital twins and representations, but we can also use images of real places and take 360 images or 3D models or interactive images, and we can link them all together. I think that's probably the best way for me to describe ThingLink. But of course, when we think of it in the higher education context, and the improvements that we've seen in ThingLink to date, because many people say, oh, I've used ThingLink for ages and I love it, but maybe they haven't seen it recently. But the improvements have all incrementally led us to own this space, and ThingLink does own the immersive learning space because we have been pioneers in it, and I'm incredibly proud to have been part of that journey for the last 5 years. But instead of taking experiences off the shelf and just using them for learning and teaching, the whole premise about this is contextual learning. And I know that you're going to focus on this heavily, both of you, and making learning relevant, relatable, and it's in the right context for those learners as well, which means that there is instantly going to be a connection because it's going to be so much more meaningful. So if you haven't seen it, ThingLink's had a glow up. This is our new logo. We didn't just plonk AI on the end. We've decided to make it look a little bit different, and there's a little bit of a twinkle to it, and you'll also see some of those new gradients. And we've already got a question coming in, which I'll put on the screen. Do we provide an online course to help users actually learn how to use it effectively? Yes, we do. We have a ThingLink certified creator course, and I see that Ivan's already put that straight on the screen there. It's completely free. You don't even need a ThingLink account to do that course. And I know that Beth and Mo, you went on to become ThingLink certified trainers as well. So you've been able to take that one stage further. So keep the questions coming so we can answer them as we go. We're delighted to see your questions, but we do hope that you like our little addition to our logo and our new gradient colors. So immersive learning is us, and we celebrate the fact that we make immersive learning super easy for everyone to do. And I did see a little bit earlier in our chat that Leah is joining us from the University of Salford. Big welcome. Thank you so much, Leah, for being in our audience. And you might be surprised that we've got one of these lovely quotes that came from one of your workshops. Please do feel free to comment. We'd love to see your response. But one of the benefits of scenario and simulation-based learning, according to Leah, and I was actually at one of Leah's presentations, which was phenomenal. And it was all about the benefits of scenario simulation-based learning, but also that physicality. And please do feel free to come in, Beth and Mo, if you want to add any comments in here. But I attended Leah's session, and she talked about the importance of looking after learners and remembering that sometimes we can present things that might be triggers for some people, or they might have a physical reaction. So I really wanted to make sure that we highlighted this, but also the importance of students being active participants in the learning process. And I don't know if either of you have got anything you want to come in there with, or if Leah's got any comments there. Beth, is there anything that you want to add in there? Have I done it justice?
You've done it justice.
But it's so true. It's the traditional teaching and learning methods, didactic teaching, rote learning, don't encourage students to become an active participant. And I just love that quote from you, Leah. And we do hope that sometime in the future, you'll come and be a participant in our webinar as well. Always welcome. So ThingLink in 2025, as we roll in, Christmas and the holidays will be here in a hot minute, I'm sure, is looking like this. So we do have our main ThingLink editor, but we also now have our new ThingLink scenario builder, which we'll show you a little bit of at the end of this webinar as well. But when we go back to Ulla's vision about connecting both physical spaces, virtual spaces, there's two tools here in that picture to emphasize the tools that you have at your fingertips. The first is with a phone. You can take one panoramic image, upload that to ThingLink, and we turn it into a photosphere for you. So you could create a photosphere of your classroom or on a virtual trip. And let's face it, who remembers to take their 360 camera out in their pocket with them? I don't, but you do have access to a mobile phone. And importantly, students can use this as well. So students can use their phones to take a panoramic image if they're on a virtual field trip, for example, if they're on an actual field trip, and then create a virtual field trip when they're back in their classes. And we've also got the AR up there, so you can create AR experiences, augmented reality experiences with ThingLink as well. So that's what ThingLink is looking like. And I'm just going to mention this quickly before we move on to some of your phenomenal examples. And just to say that immersive learning is not just about headsets, because when we talk about immersive learning, people often jump to think that it's about wearing VR headsets. And yes, ThingLink can be viewed on VR headsets, but this is about the creation, and it's also about the sharing. And that might be thinking about an immersive learning experience on personal devices, or if you are in your learning space, your classroom, your lecture theatre, how you might have that on a projector or a touch screen. We've got some universities, including Salford, that have their own interactive rooms now. So they're building these interactive immersive spaces. Your ThingLink escape rooms and all of that type of content will work in those spaces, as well as some of the latest VR headsets. So hopefully that's put the perspective of what you can do with ThingLink. So I think now, as we move on to talk about the University of Salford, let's just go back to you, Beth, and talk a little bit more about how learning and teaching has changed in higher education in your perspective. I'd love to hear a bit more about your thoughts.
Yeah, so well, a little bit on, I mentioned my background was in further education. I think a lot of higher education now are taking information and training from further education schools to look at how they can improve active learning in the classroom. And ThingLink is definitely one of those that can help that active learning in the classroom. So we're going to demonstrate some of the ways that you can use it. And there's so many different ways that you can use ThingLink, either in the classroom or as projects, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Yeah, higher education is definitely changed in the sense of, education in general. Manisha mentioned the pandemic, so we're now more au fait with teaching online and using more digital tools. We've got access to more digital tools. Everybody usually has a laptop now that they can take home with them, and students have more access to things on mobile phones and their own computers.
Yeah, I mean, it has given us this kind of hybrid model, so that we're thinking all the time about, if you're presenting something to your class, you've always got to cater to somebody who might not be present and might be accessing that particular class or content in a remote way. So everything has to be a flexible kind of mix of and also, and I don't know whether you've seen this as well, is that there's been a big increase in making sure that everything is accessible. I think I'm seeing more cognizance of accessibility than I've ever seen before in higher education.
Yeah, just recognising inclusivity in general, so making learning and assessment flexible is very big on our agenda at the University of Salford, and the use of AI as well.
Yeah, and have you seen a lot of opposition to AI coming into the university?
I think Manisha might know a little bit more. She's been there longer than I have, but we definitely embrace AI. We've embraced it before maybe a lot of other universities did. We straight away went into it and said, we want you to use it, but this is an ethical way of using it. And we realised it really does make a more inclusive environment to actually use AI if you use it well.
Yeah, for sure. Lots of really nice questions coming through as well. People saying that they've been trying different types of LTI integrations. Do you have an LMS system that you use at Salford?
Yeah, so we use Blackboard Ultra at the university, and in terms of embedding ThingLink into that, it's not been a problem at all. We've been able to embed ThingLink projects in both PowerPoint presentations and on Blackboard as well. So there's lots of different ways that educators can share their resources. And as to date, we've not heard of any issues like that happening.
Thanks, Mo. And so, Mo, tell us more about the team. There's some of the team in this image there. I was so lucky to be invited to your LTEC festival earlier this year. We had a bit of a ThingLink stand and showcased some of the work that was going on at the university. But I'm not sure that every university is lucky enough to have an LTEC team, or they might be starting to have or planning to have a team there that is supporting. Could you give us more of an overview of the work of the team?
Of course, yes. So The team that myself and Beth work in, the LTEC team, which stands for the Learning and Teaching Enhancement Centre, in a nutshell, it plays a pivotal role in enhancing teaching and learning experiences for both academics and students within the university. And we actually do have a bit of a mission status, our team, and that is that we want to lead the university and guide our academic community to support students through innovative, digitally enabled, inclusive pedagogic practice and scholarship of education. So we believe that education should be dynamic, it should be adaptive, and it should always keep the student at the core focus of everything that we do. So through the promotion of using things that are, well, keeping in mind inclusivity, accessibility, being diverse, we aim to kind of recognise our staff and student support experience and how we can transform lives. And absolutely, EdTech tools such as ThingLink is so pivotal as part of that as well. So in terms of what myself and Beth do, we're both learning technologists. We also have another 2 colleagues in the team. And what we do is we offer colleagues training, guidance, and support across a range of tools, including ThingLink. As well as that, you know, we mentioned that we are certified trainers. We do run multiple workshops on how to get up and running with using ThingLink, what to do if you have a project in mind and you need a bit more of a guided hand with that. And we also work alongside our academics developers within the LTEC team as well. So in terms of how ThingLink can fit in with curriculum development, research projects, and just general pedagogic innovation in general. So that's what we do in a nutshell. The work that we do is very diverse and it keeps us certainly on our toes. I'm sure Beth will agree with that.
So if I was a lecturer at the university and, you know, I'm just joining and I have this idea that I wanted to create an immersive learning experience to embed in one of my modules, so that lecturer could come to you and say, I've got this idea, how do I take it forward?
Absolutely. And we get questions asked, and it depends on the individual person as well, because we do have some staff members that are a bit more confident in using digital technologies like ThingLink, and some people that aren't. And in fact, one of the projects that we want to showcase today is actually something that our colleague Dennis worked alongside with Leah, who's in the chat, on their fantastic project as well. So we actually do have a really good relationship, and we can provide as much help and guidance as needed to those individuals.
And I guess it's kind of like, you know, you can support the teachers and the students, and then they kind of increase their capacity, but there's always going to be change, isn't there? There's always going to be new tools and new ways and new research and new kind of functions. So you can always kind of try and keep a little step ahead, I guess.
And this is it. And this is where we come in. You know, we provide the tools, the basics on how to get up and running with these tools. And then it's about empowering the academics as well, because ThingLink is not available to just our staff, but it's available to students as well. And we'll talk a bit more about how students have been using ThingLink as part of their assessments. So it's about empowering our academic staff to use ThingLink for their own resources, but for them to then also, you know, take on the creator course and maybe become a trainer themselves and then teach their students on how to use ThingLink. So it's definitely a process that we're seeing more and more of over the last few months, certainly, of just how ThingLink is just being used, and it's fantastic.
I think it's probably time now to start having a look at some examples, and you've selected, I think, 5 or 6 examples between you that can really start to share. And again, just some really nice comments coming through. Leah saying they're so lucky to have your support, and someone else was asking, is it about adult learning in corporate education projects or only pedagogy? I think she's saying. So do you cover both? Yeah, training for lecturers and teachers and educators as well.
Yeah, covers. When we say pedagogy, that usually means children, but we actually use it in higher education. It's as the learning and teaching behind.
Yeah, we talked about that on one of the previous webinars, about there's a kind of growing kind of blurriness between pedagogy and andragogy, and actually technologies really help to create that blurriness as people are becoming used to kind of synchronous and asynchronous learning and being more self-paced and having more agency in creating as well. So yeah, really nice comments coming through. Someone else is asking about coding. So no coding created. You tend to use tools as well, which are more kind of easier and friendly for people to. So can we call Salford if we use ThingLink but not employed by Salford? Well, I think you probably need to, if you want to have lots and lots of help from Salford, you might have to go and work there. But of course, you are part of our community, and that's why we're putting on this webinar, is for our community. And I think someone there is very happy that there's no coding. Right, let's have a look at your favorite examples. And I'm just going to put my screen back on here and just roll on to our next one. So who's going to take us over the Eyam experience?
I can do that. So as I mentioned, we've got Dr. Leah Green in the chat here, and I really hope I'm going to do this justice, Leah, so apologies beforehand. So basically this project, so it's Dr. Leah Green, who worked alongside Dr. Anna Cooper-Ryan, who I don't think is on the chat at the moment. And basically, they wanted to develop an immersive virtual experience of Eyam. And if you're not sure what Eyam is a plague village based in Derbyshire, England. And historically, so this is built for our School of Health and Society within the University of Salford. And historically, students as part of the school used to attend a residential field trip to Eyam to learn more about the response to a plague outbreak that happened in the year 1665. And quite often, the academics found that students couldn't really always attend these sort of trips due to accessibility issues, if they had work commitments or family commitments and things like that. So in the past, these students engaged with campus-based tabletop exercises of actually attending the field trip. But last year, I believe, Leah approached LTEC to try and develop something a bit more engaging and immersive for students. And they ended up working really closely with our colleague, Dennis Chambers, who was in the picture earlier. And he's also a learning technologist. So what they did together was just build this beautiful project. I'm slightly biased, but I think it's such a beautiful project. So they've basically created this immersive 17th century Eyam, okay? And the virtual experience was created using AI. So we also use a Skybox AI within our ThingLink subscription, and that allowed Dennis to create these beautiful 360 images as well. There were a few mentions of Adobe Express in the chat as well. So Dennis also used Adobe Express and other tools to manipulate these pictures to make it a bit more historically accurate as well. So yeah, added audio experience, AI faces to tell the story, and there were character profiles and scripts and avatars as part of this project as well. So everything was brought to life, and you can tell the story from characters from that period instead.
So I've had a sneaky peek at this, and we've also done a case study because it was just so fantastic. So there's a case study on our blog, which we can send out to everybody. But what I loved about this is it was the first example that I had seen in ThingLink where it used the real place and assets, media assets from the real place, but it also used AI really thoughtfully to actually recreate what it would have been like to have been in Eyam during the plague. Now, this is very appropriate because it's nearly Halloween, and I'm hoping I won't get any trick-or-treaters at my door. But here we go. So here we go into, hopefully you can hear the sound effects there as well.
So yeah, with just a simple prompting, we're just able to create these beautiful images.
And then you enter into the cottage to then start meeting the characters who would have lived in Eyam at the time of the plague. And can we have a guess at whose voice this is? Is it yours, Mo?
I'm not entirely sure, actually.
Yeah. It's
No, so this is an AI-generated voice.
Eyam.
But yes, there's a few Easter eggs in here. So just because LTEC had so much involvement with this project, there are a few characters that people may recognize if you are familiar with the LTEC team that have made appearances.
So every scene has a character from the village.
I worked with the tailor. I was an apprentice, but I am now qualified, living with Alexander Hadfield. As a journeyman, I work for my daily wage.
And if we go on through, I'm just going to cut to the scenes at the bottom. People can go through each of these and then go into the hillside here, learn more about, oh, this looks
I
like
am
Leah.
Elizabeth Hancock and live at Riley Farm, a bit out of the village,
So
on
this
the
is
road
Leah's
towards
face with
Hathersage.
my voice.
This pestilence reached us from the Talbots after they had all died. They were our neighbours who shared the Riley land.
And just to show this, so the other thing that I really like about this is that, don't forget, with these videos and these text and media tags, people have also got the option with the audio in the tag and the video. They can also make this bigger. You've got playback speed. But
I had hoped, living far from the village.
Going back to accessibility, all of this text here can be opened up with Immersive Reader, so that has translation options and other legibility tools built in. There is a question here about what did you use to create the AI video?
Oh, I'm not 100% sure on that, but it's certainly something we can get back to. I think Dennis managed to find an AI tool online that had free credits, so he was able to generate a few free characters for the purpose of this project. I can't remember the name.
I think it's probably DID or something like that. Or you can do some things like this with cartoon characters with Adobe Express as well. I think Leah's come in here, which one, the animated avatars. Yeah. So I think, DID is one that's really popular. And I've known someone use Face Swap before as well, which was another tool that you can use. So you can create these little videos, which are then uploaded into the tags. And then if you look along the bottom here as well, so we've gone into this 360.
Yeah, so this project seems to have...
There we go.
I think Louise is back.
And then you've actually now had the whole experience where people get that emotive, that physicality that Leah talked about. So you can actually almost develop some empathy or, more understanding. Here, Leah's come back. They use Hey Gen AI to animate the avatars with. And then it takes you into the actual place as it looks today. And you've got lots of information all about the video icons. So you can hear the story here.
I used to be the village parson before William Mompesson arrived and supported him to form the plan for the village. We called everyone together to persuade them to follow the 3 rules and protect those around the village. I was able to give people reassurance that this was the best way to contain this pestilence.
So now we're getting to the public health aspect, aren't we? And understanding how they managed to quarantine the whole village, which is the story of Eyam. It was the village that quarantined itself during the plague. So, and as you go on, you can continue the story and go through each of the locations. And
it looks like they had so much fun making this. Like every day that we watch it, we just laugh because, we're using us as a team to create the voices and beyond voices and stuff like that. So, beyond the actual content, it's really fun to make.
Yeah, and people seeing that as well, really amazing. What a great example of being able to combine the kind of physical and virtual worlds there, make them really easy. This can be viewed on any device, whether it's a mobile phone or even with VR headsets, but it just brings that whole topic to life. And we can't wait to see, from Leah, how this, get what feedback it gets from the students and what impacts that it had. Someone's asked how many were on the team that made this project?
So I think Leah and Anna were the main academic leads for this. And I know Dennis did a lot of the creation of ThingLink, but he did that over a space. In between us having a full-time job, he was able to create this fairly quickly once there was a story set. The scripts were created. Once the background work had been done, actually piecing it all together didn't take that long to do.
Amazing. Right, shall we move on to another example, because I could talk about each of these all day, as you can probably imagine. Now this one, I don't know if I should say it did actually make me giggle a bit. It's called Sepsis at the Seaside, an interactive story all about sepsis. So Mo, you're going to talk us through this one as well. This is nursing education in context.
Yes, so this is from the same school again, from Health and Society, and this was created by one of the academics called Maria Fell. And she basically wanted to create a simulation story that students could really can immerse themselves into. And in a very quick overview, Sepsis at the Seaside is an adventure story, and it follows the scenario of someone who's contracted sepsis whilst at the seaside, and how that situation quickly escalates from that person cutting their foot on a broken seashell to then what happened, over the next 24 hours, 48 hours. And I believe it shows a really innovative way of how video and generative AI has been used in a storybook almost. So you've got separate chapters, and then there's things to follow along with some questions in between as well.
So someone was asking if they could have the link. Yes, I know that the link's in the chat. Ivan's put that in there for you, but you will get the slides afterwards. And the University of Salford have been kind enough to let us put the links into the deck as well. So when you get the deck, you'll be able to click on the image and it will take you to the examples. So are you going to take us through the virtual simulation? And again, a nod to Leah, because Leah is always making sure that examples are thinking about, the physicality as well. And you have to do this when you work with health from an ethical standpoint as well. So there's always, some guidance around using these, isn't there? Great. Yeah. So I'll click forward. Here we go. Click to begin.
So yes, we've got 4 chapters here. So it'll start with the story of a student called Sam, who's a nursing student, and they're on their holidays and they take a trip to the beach.
That's all I could taste.
And we've got a note there that pops up that I think, was it Flixify, that's been used to actually use the videos, the text. So again, we're thinking about accessibility and having that visual engagement there. So we've got voiceover, we've got text there to describe the story, and then it will take you to the next part.
And just so that people are aware that there's also an accessibility icon down here on the right, and it will open up that ThingLink as a web page so that it can be used with screen readers, etc. as well. So, Freedom and Salt, they're going on holiday. And
Salt. 2 weeks of no lectures, no placement, just a hard-earned period of relaxation. I got off the train and met up with my student nurse friends, Abigail and Joy.
Obviously, we're not going to have a chance to go right the way through the whole story, but I guess from that you can understand that, the holiday takes a bit of a dive here. So tell us a bit more about this scene. So again, you've used an AI image to
Yep. So the inbuilt tools within there to create flat assets that was generated. So this is the story of, Sam's hurt herself on the beach, and then in that time while they're resting up, they've bandaged their foot, they've decided to do a bit more revision on their nursing course, and it's guiding you through looking at the notebook, looking at the computer, following on the story. And the nice thing about this is you can't just skip all the way through to the end as well. There are certain bits where you do need to listen to what's being said and the information that's presented to you in order to progress to the next bit as well. So this has worked really nicely. This was an additional resource that was shared on the Blackboard module site for this, and it was part of the just the students learning really. So they got given the instructions to complete the ThingLink and then to go back and complete the rest of their learning.
And then it goes on to signs of sepsis there. So you've got a story, you've got the context, you've made it really relevant, it's relatable as well, and then it goes into all of these points. I just want to call out Leah's point here about protecting the work with Creative Commons licensing and DOI as well. So yeah, that's just really important to call out as well. And I saw that you put that logo on the front. So yeah, I mean, this must be such a nice tool, because then people can have this as an asset, as well as it being embedded into the Blackboard module. So if anybody wants to have a collection of these types of resources, if they're studying, for example, and they want to make sure that they're revising all of these in preparation for a high stakes exam coming, this is a really nice way of being able to sit and go through that rather than going through pages of text.
It just breaks it up. Yeah.
Great. Shall we move on to your third one, which is about community engagement? So I'm going to go back to our deck here, and yeah, Claudia's just lovely, Claudia. Very useful for student revision as well, and really nice and visual there. So our next example is the virtual field park, which was developed by Simon Hutchinson, who's actually not a member of the LTEC team, but he's a close associate of the LTEC team, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely, and to say Simon was one of our early adopters of using ThingLink as well. Again, when the pandemic hit, it was also to help students who were unable to go out in the field to actually experience a field trip virtually. And this is actually a really nice project because it was a massive collaboration. So if you're not sure of if you're not aware of Salford and Peel Park is a big park that's based on our campus. It was also historically one of the first parks to be made public to members of the public during the Victorian time. So there's a lot of history there. And Peel Park was made in collaboration with the Salford Rangers team, who looks after the park, the University of Salford sustainability team, as well as using Salford students and local residents and staff. So this project is also shared on the council website for Salford as well. And this is a way to get our visitors to come and look at the park as well and make that decision for themselves whether it's accessible enough for them to come and visit. And the good thing about this is that Simon used our own Salford students to help create this. And the way he did that was to establish an AQA Level 1 qualification in environmental visualization, which is a formal qualification with a practical and IT element to it. So it meant that when students worked on this project, it meant that they gained a certification for it as well. And we believe it's the first of its kind. So that was a really nice way of how students helped to build this bigger project, essentially. And it's had a lot of praise from the mayor, the councillors that attended the launch. Yeah, and it's just a really nice way for members of the public to get engaged.
And also for people who maybe are coming to the university for the first time. So it's not just a tour of the premises, it's a tour of the surroundings, for that kind of comfort about coming to a place they've never been to before. Might be for prospective students to come out. But Claudia's really highlighted there the collaborative learning aspects as well, which I think is just lovely. If you're doing this with students and it's getting recognised by the council, what an accolade. Something to put on your CV for sure. So I'm going to go over to Beth now. So Beth, you're going to introduce your top 3 examples as well. Let's go back to our deck. And again, if you these examples, they're linked in the deck, which you'll get afterwards as well, so you'll be able to go through. So the family learning experience.
Yeah, so a lot of what I want to show is to show you how versatile ThingLink can be. So we've had a look at very big projects that we've worked on, but these are very simple ways that you can use ThingLink within the classroom for formative assessment, for blended learning, to assess your students after they've completed the lesson on that day, or use a bit of collaborative learning in between lessons. So this was a project again in the nursing school, and what I really love about this, so one is used Skybox to create this, which we have a license for, so it was really easy for him to just say, this is what I want the background to be. added hotspots in. So if you go a little bit to the left, Louise, and where the briefcases are, what I wanted to demonstrate, the blue and the blue and white one, or that, any of them. Yeah.
Wow.
So what it's done there is embedded Padlet. So we also use Padlet as well as another one of our technologies. The students are going in and they're uploading pictures. So you can use this with lots of other tools to use as a collaborative process, but it's made more visual.
Amazing. So that's perfect for people who are working remotely. So it's that hybrid model, so that you can combine both this as an experience to consume, but people are really contributing, as we've heard, active participants in the learning process. So that's the nursing family experience. And then we've got a student created virtual field trip here as well.
So the other thing that I like, sorry.
So people often think about virtual field trips as though you never go to that place, and they're done by the educator for the students. But this is now, we know, a researched, impactful way of being able to enable students to recreate that experience. They gather their assets, and there's loads of additional learning outcomes that are achieved through creating their experience after they've actually been there.
Yeah, and a lot of what we discuss now is around active learning, so that, you know, the traditional lectures maybe aren't so much of a thing anymore, because we know that learning takes place when the learners are doing all the work. I like to call it the lazy teacher. And what I really like about ThingLink, and the way I would use it in the classroom, is to ask learners to go off, create their own ThingLink, research on the topic, and then use it as a platform to present and demonstrate what they've done. So this is a really good example of student there, Erin Bennett, who's created this within geography. And there's lots of elements to this. So you can see she's put in a lot of hard work. And you can present this, you could use it as a summative assessment. You could present it as part of assessment and beyond an essay. There's no way you could use AI to cheat on something like this, because you'd have to create everything yourself and do all your own research.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a really nice example of how students can use ThingLink.
As well, and collecting all those assets, having skills in managing different types of digital media, putting it together, presenting it, certainly skills for the future. And I mentioned that when we were planning the webinar, because we are preparing students not only in the vocational subjects that they've chosen to study at university, but all the associated skills that go with it. So hopefully your students will be leaving and going into the workplace as well with a much greater skill set. So just coming back, we have one more escape room, Beth, and it's quite topical, isn't it, to think about, you know, escape rooms and Halloween and the ability to create these kinds of things very easily.
Yeah, and what I really like about this is it's a really good example of how you can easily create something. You don't need to worry too much about your workload, because I know we're busy when we're teaching full time and we're marking work and things like this, but this was put together really quickly. So we talked a little bit more about using Adobe Express. So he's used Adobe Express for this fairy character, and he's given some instructions to the students. He's used, you can see the pictures, AI generated, and he's also created a transcript. But you can use that immersive reader as well if learners can't read that font. And all he's done in each room, so he's created a few rooms using the tags, and you're asked a question. So this is a really good way to, when you're thinking about deep and surface learning, this is really your deeper learning. So has the learner learned in class? These answers are, it's not multiple choice, it's open question. So I'm a chronic condition where the body either does not produce enough insulin, does not produce enough or cannot effectively use the insulin. What am I? And you have to put in the correct answer to move forward. So I think that makes it challenging for the learner. And then in each room, there's one tag, there's one question, and that will lead them to the idea of the escape room is that all of the things have got lost, all of your course content has been lost, you need to find them, so you need to go into each room. But yeah, I just thought it was a brilliant way to show how you can use it simply.
It's so creative, and people often think about escape rooms for fun. This is an escape room that actually matches the learning outcomes of the modules, and it's not too hard either. You can incrementally get harder because you don't want to put people off by the first question being so hard. So it gives people that confidence to progress through the rooms, eventually coming to the end and celebrating their escape from what looks like the library. I could talk to you all afternoon or all evening. Lots of really, really nice comments coming through as well. So if you, as lots of people asking great questions, keep those questions coming. Everything that you've seen created here today has been done using the ThingLink editor. And if you click on this slide, it will take you to this little ThingLink that we put together, which we've updated now. So just to confirm, and there was a question in the chat there, you can use 360 videos with ThingLink as well. And here's a really nice 360 video where you can put the hotspots in the field of vision, but you can also put them along the timeline at the bottom as well. So there's the 5 different types of base media, and you can mix and match those to your heart's content, creating escape rooms. What you saw with Leah's was that kind of virtual tour front door. So you had an image with the instructions on, clarification if there was any images that might be distressing, the Creative Commons information, and then you go through the transit tag that takes you to the 360 image. And we now have 6 tags. There was 5, now there's 6. So who has seen the newest tag? So we have, of course, our text and media tag, where you can put all different types of text and media. You can even put a 3D object in that text and media tag. We've got our embed tag, which is where you can embed any kind of third-party content, and it'll be interactive as well, like your Padlet example, which was great. The transit tag, which enables you to hop from one room or one ThingLink scene to another using that conditional transition that's built in that tag to ask questions or have a passphrase, for example. You saw the plain text label tab, and you also have, I don't know if you've shown it, but we have a quick snap poll as well. So you can do like a Twitter poll or X poll, you know, we can get like a pulse check for how people are feeling. But we also now have our question tag, and our question tag at this moment doesn't hold any data, but watch this space because I predict big things for this little tag. And it is just a way of checking comprehension as well. But don't forget that question tag can be part of this transit tag to make that conditional transition. But you'll be able to explore all of that if you click on this image in the deck that you're going to get. Now, I've just got time to talk about our new ThingLink scenario builder. If you haven't had a chance to play with it yet, please do go and play with it. It really is utterly amazing. And I just want to give you a little overview of why this is now available. We are so lucky and so grateful to the LTEC team for joining us today, but we know not all workplaces are big enough to have an LTEC team. We know that not all the universities are lucky enough to have an LTEC team. So we've made it even easier for people to create branching scenario-based learning experiences. Because if I ask you both, Mo and Beth, you know, what kind of prevents people from creating branching scenario-based experiences or those kind of pick your path style adventure games, many times it's because people just struggle to have the time to create things. It's not that they don't have the imagination, it's just the time, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, you know, we see this time and time again. And with the introduction of this new functionality, it's an absolute game changer, in all honesty. It takes that pressure off you to create even a first draft, because it's always easy to create a first draft and then tweak after that. So yes, time and time again, it's the workload, and this will absolutely change that.
Fingers crossed. But the feedback's been very positive so far. So the idea with our new scenario builder is that we've trained some AI tools. It's not just like using OpenAI. This has actually been developed in partnership with a European grant to design branching experiences based on these kinds of conditions. So creating a context, creating a challenge, then you create those choices. And then this learning is in understanding the consequences of our choices. So going back to the sepsis example, what would have happened if you'd gone down a different route and you hadn't looked after it? And, you know, it's those kinds of situations where you can try things out in a really safe environment. And of course, then with learning, you have to have contemplation, that reflection and understanding, you know, what you could have done differently, for example. So I have now here...
Transform your existing PDFs into immersive learning experiences in a matter of minutes with ThingLink's new Create with AI feature. This quick and easy tool is available to try now for free. Get started with 5 simple steps. Step 1. Click Create with AI and select an AI model. Step 2. Upload a training document, provide a brief description of the training, and choose your preferred language. Step 3. Pick your training structure, linear for a chronological training experience, or branched for learners to explore different outcomes and scenarios. Step 4. Review the learning objectives and content areas generated from your document and modify them as needed to ensure a successful conversion. Step 5. Click Create, take a break, and let ThingLink AI do the rest. After following these 5 simple steps, you'll see an outline for your new immersive learning experience with options for further editing and customization, such as uploading images, selecting a tour, embedding content, or utilizing ThingLink AI to generate images, improve text, or create a new immersive block for your learning experience. After making your final review and edits, you'll be ready to share your training with your team in no time. Congrats!
So that is just a quick walkover to show you exactly what our...
Ready to create your first interactive learning experience? Contact us today to start your journey with ThingLink.
Yay! So that was launched last week. And I'm so proud of our team bringing that to fruition, because there's just been a lot going on. The point of it is that we are giving you a leg up, or a real start with that scenario structure, because people do find it difficult to sketch it out on pen and paper. And then, of course, you can go in and edit it. And, of course, you can add in all your ThingLinks that you've been creating. Really nice comment here from Lisa, just wondering if I can create an AI interviewee. Amazing idea. Someone else saying applied entrepreneurship and economic decision-making. Brilliant. Keep them coming. So, yeah, this is going to be available for you. However, it's going to be really, really cool. Our webinar next Wednesday was requested a lot by our community. People want to know how you, Mo and Beth and others, how do you make the leap from being an educator to becoming a learning technologist, a learning designer, or even working in the edtech industry? So next Wednesday, the 6th of November, remember the 6th of November, come and join us. And in the deck, if you click on that little button there, you'll be able to sign up for it, all free, and it's on demand as well. If you can't make it, don't worry. You are more than welcome to sign up anyway and get all the links. And then the week after, myself and my colleague, the wonderful Andreas, and I are going to be doing an absolute deep dive. I don't like using deep dive anymore because it's a bit ChatGPT. We are doing a comprehensive overview of the new ThingLink Scenario Builder, where we'll show you how you have the options to create with Scratch or create with AI. So create from scratch, I should say. So yes, please do join us. But I'm just going to take my screen off there and bring back Ivan. There's been some amazing comments coming through, Ivan. It's just been so active on the chat tonight.
Yes, this is really different from a couple of webinars we have held recently. Like, I haven't been this active in the chat for at least a month. But yeah, thank you all. There are some conversations that we were not able to fully cover in the chat just because 140 characters a message. So please do email us at support@thinglink.com if there is something I was not able to answer, or if you just have further questions.
Brilliant. Yeah, do just get in touch with Ivan, support@thinglink.com. If you want to register for next Wednesday, you can go to our website and look at our webinars. That's thinglink.com/webinars. The link will be on the slides as well, so you'll be able to go in there. I know that we're out of time, but I just want to say on behalf of the whole ThingLink team, Beth and Mo, we couldn't have done this without you. You are amazing, and the University of Salford is a shining light for all higher education to follow. You are genuinely making a huge difference in what you're doing to learning and teaching, not just in Salford, but all over. So thank you very, very much for joining us. I don't know if you've got any thoughts or last things that you want to say. I'll come to you first, Mo.
Yeah, I just wanted to also say thank you to both you, Louise and Ivan, because it's a two-way street, and without your support as well, we wouldn't have been able to do all the amazing things that we have been able to do the last year. So thank you to you both as well. And if you are interested in getting ThingLink, absolutely consider it, because the support is phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo. And over to you, Beth.
Yeah, well, just to say that it's definitely been a game changer in Salford using ThingLink. It was introduced to us and we weren't sure where to go with it, and now we use it in everything. So we've come up with so many ideas because of all the things that you can do in ThingLink. Really opened many doors and supported inclusivity and accessibility of students. So we're just really excited about moving forward as well, and what's next.
Brilliant. And a big thanks to Leah, who is joining us in the chat there as well, who we loved showcasing some of your work and some of your thinking as well. And thought leadership is, you are a real leader too, and the rest of the LTEC team. So have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful rest of the day, all of you. If you're joining us on demand, we hope you enjoyed it. Keep in touch with us, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. So thank you. So goodbye from us all here. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.